Hey everyone, it's Gordon Einstein again. We are on, I think, the last day of Digital Week Online. It's been a wild and crazy ride. Lots of good panels, lots of good speakers, lots of good keynotes. I'm jazzed up for this penultimate or penultimate panel FinTech and DeFi All-Stars. So before we kind of go through them and have them introduce themselves, I want to introduce my co-host, my surprise guest co-host, my buddy Sergey. Sergey, good to see you. So that we have the English world and the Russian world covered. Sergey,
hello. Yes. You know, Gordon, it's really cool to be here with you because I'm very interested in topics. We are going to talk today about fintech, DeFi investments, and also I would like to introduce our speakers, and they are Said Hareb Al-Darmaki. Said, so difficult to pronounce your surname, but the name is cool. Managing Director, Applebit Digital Currency Fund. Another person, Ben Clark, Managing Director of A195 Capital. Carl Chasse, founding partner of Master Ventures. Leslie Tam, partner of GBV Capital. Enzo Villani, managing partner of Alpha Sigma Capital, and of course Gordon Einstein, founding partner of Crypto Law Partners. Thank you for letting me introduce yourselves, and you too, Gordon, your turn.
Thank you very much. And I have to say also, as of this week, International General Counsel of the Emerging Technology Association, the big Casper Grant recipient. Yay. So enough about the hosts. Let's get to our speakers. I always like to start off with like the Wolverine style origin story. You know, like the Marvel movies, you know, every time a superhero has a couple successful movies, they always do like an origin tale, and Wolverine had one. So I'm going to kind of do this in a random order as it appears on my Zoom. I want to hear about who you are, what you're up to, but then how you got into crypto, blockchain, fintech, and DeFi. I'm going to go to Wolverine number one, Said, because you're appearing first on my screen. Give us your origin story. Tell us about you, and you know, how did you become the Wolverine of crypto?
Thanks, Gordon. I don't know if I'd describe myself as a Wolverine or a superhero, but
that's my job to describe you that way. You can play modest. Go ahead.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I got involved in the blockchain crypto space 4 years ago, thanks to a very good, close, old friend of mine, Liam Robertson, who's CEO of Alphabet Crypto Fund, which is a regulated fund. We've been investing early stage into a lot of different projects early on in the ICO days. And then more recently, we're kind of more focused on DeFi projects. I've had the real honor of working with Kyle on Paid Network. I'm sure he'll tell his story there. Ben Clark's a really good friend with A195 Capital. Enzo, obviously, I met in Dubai. Was it a year and a half ago, 2 years? And he's a close friend. Vineet here is also a really good friend of mine. So I'm very happy to be on this panel with very distinguished guests who've got a very good track record in the business. I mean, yeah, 4 years isn't too long compared to most of the guys here, but I think I've learned a lot over the years, and I've been very passionate about blockchain tech in general and crypto in general, and I'm loving all the innovation that's come out after the 2-year bear market. But yeah, I mean, initially it was Bitcoin that got me into the space. I just loved the concept, I loved the code, and I loved the white paper and what it stands for. And I think it's the new form of money. Whether it will overtake fiat is a question mark, but I think eventually it will kind of maybe get somewhere.
Will it overtake gold?
Where fiat is. Gold, yeah, easily. It's the digital gold, right? It's much more easier to hold than gold, and it's much more transferable and has a lot more benefits to it. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot over the years, advised a lot of projects, and I'm advising Paid Network as well, and worked with a lot of great VC funds, and developed a really good network over the years, and super happy to be here. And I think it's a great time to be in the crypto market in general.
And we're happy to have you. I love it. Vineet, your origin tale. You played Wolverine also.
Okay, so I come from the tech background. I've done 3 startups in the last 15 years. And finally, I ended up in the crypto mining industry. A year back, I was representing one of the big crypto companies in the Middle East. And finally, during one of my chats, I met Bijan, who's the partner for Phoenix VC. He basically, I told him about the new projects that get launched, and I'd been following them. And that's the origin story. I started with investing with certain projects which I liked a lot, which I saw a use case scenario in, and then finally built it up into a fund. Bijan being the partner for that, and trusting us with the details. In fact, I'll let Bijan talk on this as he's the panel member. I'll just be a mute spectator.
You know what? I'll go to Bijan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So for us, it was actually, we are one of the companies that we saw really a use case of DeFi, because we were mining Bitcoin. We are mining Bitcoin from 2015, and we always advise our clients to don't sell your crypto. And we always had this problem to get a loan against the asset, because most of the traditional institutions, they wouldn't recognize it as asset, or they come with the offers that wouldn't be acceptable. So once DeFi came in, Compound mostly, we jump heavily on it, wrap the BTC. We used to give loans essentially to the miners so they can add more machines. And so for us, it was a very accelerator in the business, and we have used it on all sorts of different perspectives.
Very good. I like it. Benjamin, my man in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So thanks for having me here. It's an honor to be here amongst all these great names and friends. I've worked closely with quite a few of you, and recently have met a few of you in person over in Dubai.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it really, I first found out about Bitcoin through Zero Hedge. I was an avid reader of Zero Hedge way back in the day, and still am. And obviously they have a lot of contrarian plays and kind of alternative investment strategies. And
but who is Tyler Durden?
I don't know. That's the $1 million question, right?
Is that what? No, go
ahead. Yeah. So that piqued my interest, and kind of like the story with many, I learned about it, and probably I think it was like 2013 or so, but didn't really act on it, and didn't act on it till about 2015, and then from there I kind of saw this paradigm shift of, I was really actively trading and holding, but I saw a paradigm shift into investing in early stage startups, and I was in San Francisco at the time, and being surrounded with that kind of culture with Silicon Valley and whatnot, I saw the opportunity there and started tinkering around, and that was kind of like the whole aha moment for me with Ethereum, is really just kind of seeing how it leveled the playing field for not just investing and ICO investing and whatnot, where anybody could participate. You could be a contractor, hammering away on a house, as long as you had a cell phone and a connection, that you could participate in an ICO and get the same prices, the same VCs, the big name VCs. I thought it was a really great concept, and just a leveling the playing field. And then you just kind of go down.
Let me pause you a second, because you're provoking some intellectual, interesting thoughts there.
Yeah.
So that was a realization that was beyond Bitcoin.
Oh yeah. It was way beyond Bitcoin. It was just realization of what the capabilities of what blockchain could do.
Right.
What this technology could do. And I was going to say, after realizing that, I just kind of went down the rabbit hole of seeing what blockchain technology could do, leveling the playing fields in every industry. And so I'll fast forward, moved out to Puerto Rico about 3 years ago, met a gentleman by the name of Scott Walker,
Yep.
who is the founder of Casper Labs. And he and I partnered up to form A195 Capital. And you know, that's how I met Saeed and Kyle and you know, many other people, and made some great investments and connections. Invested in advising Paid Network as well. Kyle's doing a great job over there. Yeah, so you know, also been diving down the DeFi rabbit hole. We were lead investors in a project called Vesper, which is just really, I mean, it is exceeding expectations as far as, you know, the money that they're onboarding. I think they just broke 600 million, and it's their third week, which is just amazing.
Not bad, right?
Yeah. So yeah. So that's me
let me
in a
pause you
nutshell.
just so we can get to other speakers, but that you're leading into a topic I want to hit. So we're going to bookmark that and come back.
Yep.
Enzo.
Hey.
I miss you.
How are you guys? You know, it's funny how small. I mean, we're still in the small. The crypto world is still quite small. I mean, I know like 80% of the people here, and it's interesting. But I got into it. I had just come off of from like 2001 or 2002 when I was at NASDAQ. All the way after that, I had rolled up what was like the investor relations industry, public company services and products, like market intelligence. It's all the products and services that a public company uses. So I started doing it at NASDAQ. I did all these roll-ups, and then I was like, I was just done. I was traveling to Brazil and China, and I was like, you know what? Let's move to Lake Placid, where my vacation house was, and I started teaching at Clarkson University.
I'm sorry, I have zero sympathy for your volume of travel, because considering part of my French, my ass was stuck in a chair for all of 2020.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, so when I was doing all of these deals, and it was great. It was look, I was very happy. It was great, but I was like, my kids were small, and they were at that age. I was like, let's just, and I was just kind of done. I just wanted to look. I wanted to reboot a little bit. I was like, how much more of this consolidation can I possibly do? This market wasn't that. It wasn't like this gigantic market. Right. So I move up there full time, and I'm teaching the venture capital course at Clarkson. And this kid comes in, and he's showing me this Raspberry Pi inside of an Altoids box, and he's like an engineering student, but he's a venture student too. And then he tells me about owning a Bitcoin ATM in Burlington, Vermont. This kid's like 19, or no, I guess he was 20, maybe honestly 21, because this was the capstone course, his final course. And I was like, you know, and I had been looking at Mt. Gox because I'm an exchange guy, right? I'm a fintech exchange person. So I was looking at Mt. Gox, and I was like, this is interesting. There's a whole new exchange infrastructure being built here. But I was like, but they're still centralized. It was still like a centralized, like as your order book. And the more I started looking at it, and then I bought Bitcoin, right? It was like 2013 or so. I bought some, I used actually Coinbase. I completely forgot about the Bitcoin, by the way, until like 2 years later. But I started looking at the Ethereum. Ethereum and everything around the smart contract really changed everything. And I know Michael Turpin, going back to my NASDAQ days, and he had, and I would speak to him, and I was like, this is early. It's a little too early for me to enter the space, I think. So I was running actually equities.com, and I had two pink sheet public companies that were clients. And during the first Bitcoin run up in about, I guess, 2000, maybe it was 2016 or so. I forget the date, but this company went from like a $20 million market cap on the pink sheets to 2 billion and got halted. And this guy he put 120 tokens on the Bitcoin blockchain. It was basically, for lack of a better term, a shitcoin kind of machine, right? And I was like, this is amazing tech. And from a fintech standpoint, when you really
amazing tech and amazing valuation.
Well, from a fintech standpoint, when you peel back the onion and you just look at the tech, especially in DeFi too, what this tech is the most efficient clearing and settlement system and transaction system in the world. So all of these banks, exchanges.
Actually, Angel, let me pause you, because we're getting into the meat. I just want to hit that 2 other speakers, and then we're all going to get there.
Crazy. So when I saw that, I was like, this is just So I called up Turpin, and I called him Michael. I was like, I have to get out of
I call him Turpin also.
And I call him Turpin all the time. I have to get out of equities, and I was CEO. I've been there for 3 years, raised like $10 million. I mean, it was fine. Yeah. It was micro caps. It was kind of but it was to me that was a broken market. And I'm like, look at this efficient market with all these new people, very passionate, great tech, open source. Everybody can share, right? And just move the ball forward, as opposed to the legacy financial world, which is legacy systems. Everybody has their own protocols. Everybody has their own, tech, and you can literally erase probably half of that tech with DeFi. Like you can literally erase probably half of the banking legacy tech by implementing a DeFi tech stack. And I was like, this is amazing. So I was like, I'm in. And
so, sorry, buddy. Let me stop you. Let me just. We'll come back. Kyle, I don't know if we've spoken at length, but I know you. So say hi and give us your origin tale, and then we'll.
Sure. Yeah. So I got interested in Bitcoin in 2012. Probably not for the same reason most of the people on this call are. I found out that you could buy weed on Silk Road with Bitcoin, and I thought that was pretty interesting, but it wasn't just it wasn't just Bitcoin that was intriguing to me at the whole time. It was really the Silk Road and the dark web that was like mind blowing about how this is operating, and that was like the first kind of paradigm shift of a free market, a kind of open market. That was interesting, but it was in 2013 that I really really saw the power of Bitcoin when WikiLeaks started adopting it in order to get around all of the centralized payment rails. Once they started leaking embarrassing documents about the United States.
Did you work with Michael Healy at all?
Yeah, Michael Healy's in Bali. I'm in Thailand. But I know Michael Healy, yeah. Well.
Cool, small world. Okay, go ahead. Interesting.
Keep going. So 2013 is when I kind of just realized that, what I was doing before, I loved to do. I was in regenerative medicine, anti-aging at a company. But I realized that I had been that was my early 20s, and I had since my early teens, I had been dying for disruption. Just really fed up with what's going on in the legacy world. If voting was a scam, and taxes were a scam, and the Central Reserve was a scam. I never felt like voting, and so I finally felt like what we needed as a human species had arrived. And so I started building. 2013, I built the world's first Bitcoin-based lottery called World Super Lotto. That was my kind of entry. That was my origin story, really. And ever since then, I've been active in advising, investing, and building. And launched Master Ventures in 2017. We have advised and incubated, I guess, close to 20 different projects or so by now. And in 2019, we pivoted into venture studio model, started building our own projects. Enzo, you might be interested in one of them that we built. That the technology is ready now, which is called Crypto Exchange Alliance. That's a SaaS product for exchanges, but that's a really good tech, and it's really useful. And I think it'll be like Swift for the world moving forward. We're building the super highway between any type of brokers, whether exchanges or whatever, for liquidity. But that's cool. But it's much more fun to build a publicly traded company, And so we started building Paid halfway through last year in order to disrupt legacy, legal systems, and in order to make a more efficient way to conduct cross-border business and settle disputes in a quick and efficient way. Because it's so inefficient to try to settle disputes today between two business parties. And we launched Paid. It was very successful. If you don't know already, we had a massive hack last Friday, and it was absolutely brutal. Lots of lessons learned there, but we worked our ass off to get everything back up and running. And we have, we airdropped our V2 token to everybody, got back on track. My entire team, a shout out to everyone for coming through and not sleeping for us and making sure that we make everybody right that's, had any issues with it. So that's kind of my origin story. And
Fascinating. And then Leslie, to be honest, I think I just got noticed you're on the panel. Or are you on the panel?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sorry. catching up on chat here. So I don't believe we've met before, but very nice to meet you, and would love to hear about you.
Yeah, hey everyone, my name's Leslie. I'm a partner at GBV, which is Genesis Block Ventures. I had a pretty boring career in banking. So I was in structured products. I did CDOs during the crisis, the big short. I was at Goldman, then I was at Merrill, and I was just bored. I mean, the structured products that were really cool, no one was doing them anymore because it didn't work and the regulators were shutting it down. And
are you the guy that Michael Burry went to and asked to get insurance on the CDOs, and you kind of laughed at him and charged him a lot of money?
The guys that were doing that were sitting behind me. So I don't know if you remember this guy called Fabulous Fab, Fabrice Torre. So he was sitting behind me in New York. And I was just bored. We bought Bitcoin, I think, on BTCC in 2013. We don't remember where it went. And then 4 years later, we're like, wow, it's 20K. And so I just wanted to go somewhere, and I just quit banking. People thought I was crazy. I went to Binance, where I started the OTC desk, and I was head of all coverage, basically. So anyone that traded on the exchange was covered by our 19-person team. And I learned a lot from there. So thanks to CZ and the guys, you learn a lot about getting retail customers, how an exchange works. Then I went to a smaller exchange called Coinflex, where I was the chief strategy officer. And I learned a lot about product there, building the exchange, hiring the tech guys, doing the architecture. And somehow from last spring, DeFi summer came, and then I got really excited because basically this is what I was doing in my banking career, calculating all these products. So it was really DeFi that got me into investing. And so I left Coinflex in September and started GBV with some guys from Genesis Block Hong Kong. Don't know if you guys know them. And now we've been investing a lot of projects, mainly DeFi, but also a lot of other projects, especially NFTs nowadays. But I think the topic of this discussion is DeFi. And I think we've invested 40 projects since October. So we're just eager to learn and help in many ways, both on product, because I love talking about the product, and figuring out the mechanisms, and also incubation. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, well, that was a lot of interest, but we had a lot of interesting panelists that we needed to kind of bring in there. Enzo, let's kind of circle back with you. I think you were making a point about the efficiencies that DeFi brings to the market. Can you? And I kind of cut you short.
It's quite simple. Being a person who was at NASDAQ for 7 years, and I actually advised other exchanges, but I don't really talk about it because it was like I was like a consultant. But the interesting thing about this stuff is there's something called a fixed protocol, which is basically it's a smart order router. It's a protocol for smart routing trades. And to be quite honest, it took forever for those people to put it together. Okay, all these big banks and brokers, the broker dealers, the exchanges, all of these folks, and the regulators. And then you look at what we do, or what is happening in this market in DeFi, and all these inventive, creative, unbelievably smart people just cranking out products, and they work. I mean, yes, there are flash crashes, there are hacks, and there's even systems now that are looking at how do we stop a DeFi hack from actually happening, because those exploits are basically algo based, right? So it's just an amazing. I don't think the regulatory world. I don't think the big banks really understand what's happening here. I don't think they understand.
Well, let me ask a question to you and to the group generally. Is this?
Please.
I mean, is this something that is partially escaping the regulatory domain just because of its nature, or is it sort of temporarily free, but then going to fall under the ambit of it? I kind of go back and forth on this. Does anyone want to jump in or comment?
I think I'll jump in. If you think about it, the ICO days was like 2017, and the regulator is just now kind of getting to grips with them. So I think with DeFi, it'll probably take another few years before the regulator steps in and kind of tries to regulate it. I think they've still got their hands full, and they still don't really understand how the DeFi protocols work, and I think it's too much work for them to kind of focus on it right now. I think they got bigger fish to fry, and they have a lot of things on their plate. But I think eventually the regulator will have to step in at some point. I mean, right now, the market.
Well, sorry, let me pair Enzo, and then tell me. Let me say what I think Enzo would say, and then let me know what your response would be. To the extent that there's algorithmic tools being generated or industry best practices being generated that address things like hacks, like address things like exploits, does that in some way maybe replace the need for regulation or get ahead of the need for regulation?
I'll say one thing. Most of Wall Street has actually regulated. They still have T+2.
Yeah.
Trade +2, which is nonsense. So think about it. The regulators are going to follow it, but everything that's happening here is beta tests. A lot of it's beta, right? But it works. The financial industry, as we know it, the financial technology stack is going to be completely replaced with this technology stack. I do not doubt that one bit.
Yeah,
go ahead.
If you're talking about the tech, sorry, Carl, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sid. Go ahead. I'll jump in with my opinion afterwards.
I'll make it short. If you're talking about the tech, then sure, yes, it's revolutionary. It's got a lot of advantages, etc. But ultimately, what the regulator cares about is the interest of investors, right? So that's when they would deem that it's appropriate to step in. And right now, it's only $45 billion or whatever, $50 billion market. So I think it's too small for them right now. But once DeFi protocols reach to like, I don't know, a few hundred billion, then you'll see the regulators step in. And once you see people actually, investors lose a lot of money from these things, then you'll see them step in.
Kyle?
So this is what I say to crypto in general when the topic of regulation gets brought up. Regulation is a domestic or regional type of product. We are building global products, and so I always ask people, like, how do you expect a regulator in a certain country to come after the only country that has the audacity to go reach into other countries and bother people who are trying to not even mind business in their country, because if you do, you're asking for trouble. But I always tell people, like, just stay out of America, don't get them involved, IP ban, block Americans, and you eliminate 99% of your problems there. Wait for them to come around and be more, not be such bullies, and then you can include them. But for now, just avoid them. But the fact is, like, let's say that you have some guy in Ethiopia creating an amazing DeFi protocol, and then people all over the world participating. How in the world do you expect regulators to kind of regulate this type of entity? Furthermore, I think about self-regulation is the most important thing that we need to do. And like Saeed said, it's about people not losing funds. So, there's a lot of stuff that's being built, a lot of proposals for kind of self-regulatory types of systems. One of them, for example, to prevent people from losing money on a crowd sale, an ICO or a fundraise, is something like a DICO model, where there's a governance model built around the crowdfunding platform, where a project doesn't get 100% of the money up front. They have to deliver on milestones in order to keep getting money. And there you go. Now you solve your problem of malicious actors trying to raise money and do a money grab. So this is what I say. I think we're moving at a pace that is exponentially faster than the regulators could even wrap their mind around. Second of all, it's just too big. It's going to be too big and growing too fast for them to actually regulate. I think the key is really about self-regulation. That's how we will mature and grow. But the whole idea, the whole idea of blockchain and open, permissionless, borderless blockchain is to be anti-regulatory, in my opinion.
You're a man after my own heart. Actually, the reason I went back into the practice of law was to not bring law to blockchain, but to bring blockchain to law, because I think there's a lot of inefficiencies and pain in the non-global nature of our legal regimes. I guess I have to push back a little bit, though, which is just take money laundering, for example. Sure, a lot of stuff exists on a national or regional basis, and obviously money transfer law in the U.S. is even state, but you do have international regimes like the Fifth AML directive in the EU, or I think it's the FAFT 2020 recommendations that, they may get implemented locally, but they seem to be propounded globally. And there seems to be enough mass of countries on the side of regulation that I don't think the guy in Ethiopia can escape for long. I hope he can. I want him to.
It doesn't matter. Let them figure it out as we move along. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. You have to just, if you're self-regulating anyway, like we should regulate. We put out fair disclosure statements when we invest in tokens, all this stuff, because we're from Wall Street, so we're like, we'll just follow our own rules. That'll just be. But seriously, Swift, just as an FYI, I know the person who's working on the innovation side of Swift, and I sent her one message. I said, blockchain. She just gotten the job, and she's like DLT, because of course they have to call it something enterprise DLT instead of blockchain. So they're going to make up their own word. But at the end of the day, Swift's going to blockchain.
Yeah.
Everything in the world that's financially transacted will go towards a blockchain. Some will be regulated, some won't. Some will be fast. Because the speed to market is and don't worry. And I wouldn't be, look, if you're not doing anything kind of nefarious, why just act as if, right? But it's amazing to see the innovation in DeFi right now, and it is a very small amount of money that's really in there. I mean, I know it's 38 billion. That's really very small when you come to think about it, as far as the entire marketplace. Yep. So I'm just trying to be more positive about it. I don't think. I think we're
all right. So enough about regulation. How about that? So what are the next waves of innovation in fintech and DeFi, which is the fun stuff? Benjamin.
Yeah. So I mean, DeFi to me is probably the most exciting area in blockchain right now, just because it's kind of the Wild West, and every day it seems, back in, what was it, late summer, early fall last year, we had all the food coins coming out, and it was kind of like the first iteration of what DeFi might look like, and I think it was Compound that really kicked it off. That kind of just was the average person's first experience of DeFi and what it was capable of. And then you had Uniswap and all these AMMs allowing these transactions that kind of happen seamlessly, decentralized. It leveled the playing field for everybody. And now you're starting to see these new iterations of really kind of advanced ways of generating yield and loaning and borrowing, and it's just kind of opening up finance in ways that nobody thought was possible. And I'm constantly surprised every day at what I'm seeing out there. And so to me, that's really the exciting part. I think when we really start to see like the capability to, let's say, buy a house literally with a few clicks of a button with some Bitcoin that you have in your wallet, and you can get escrow done, everything done, all the paperwork done with in a matter of, let's just say, an hour. I think that to me is really going to be the things that really kind of shape what DeFi is capable of when we start to get to that level, and kind of the tokenization of the capital markets, tokenization of the equity markets. That to me is exciting. So
let me nitpick a little bit. Is that DeFi or is that fintech or is that just? I
think it's a combination of both.
New finance in general.
Yeah, it'd be a combination of both, new finance in general. Because if I could go and buy your house in a decentralized sort of way, wouldn't that be DeFi?
I don't know. I guess it kind of begs the question of where the border is. I mean, DeFi is a sort of a container term. I mean, when I think of DeFi, I think about getting away from the legacy financial structures and incumbent players, and going to more atomic transactions with less. I mean, obviously less centralized parties, but I'm not exactly sure where the line is, but the example you gave is compelling. Yeah, rolling up on a house, on your app, seeing it's for sale, push a button, you bought it, and all the escrow. I mean, just when I was doing some real estate law back in the day, the whole idea of searching title and getting title insurance and escrows and all this stuff is like, you must be kidding me. And each one of those is like a transaction cost or friction on something it's like archaic. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's my background before I got into crypto. I come from a real estate background. I had a real estate appraisal company in the Bay Area, and talk about an archaic, just dinosaur of an industry.
Yep.
I mean, that industry itself is completely ripe for disruption. But that's save that topic for another day. But that's kind of what I'm talking about is being able to like not only just buy the house but secure a loan, and that loan may come from somebody on this panel who has their Bitcoin or Ethereum up for loan at X number of rate. So it's totally bypassing the traditional mechanisms that are out there right now, and kind of creating this whole new world. And I just can't wait for that day when we really can just seamlessly bypass all of these roadblocks that we're faced with in our financial reality today. Or the everyday person out there's financial reality. So
interesting. Leslie, let me come to you. So what is making your toes tingle when it comes to fintech and DeFi developments? What's getting you excited in 21, 22, 23? If you can even go out that far.
Yeah, I don't think we can go out that far. Maybe 1 month. Basically, the space has changed so quickly, and I guess I would take a different tack. I think, of course, there's real world uses in connecting and creating sort of representations of real world objects, but I think that is going to be a slower, more fintech part of the business that is going to grow at traditional rates. I'm much more interested in all the innovation that's going on, and sort of how and those can really grow exponentially. So there was an experiment in, say, algo stablecoins, and using stablecoins without actually having US dollar collateral, and I mean some of them were honestly disasters. But there's more and more coming out, and the rate of financial experimentation is so high, and it's just crazy that people are throwing hundreds of millions into these things. So today there's a farm called Big. Well,
actually, let me ask you: is it? Oh, my video went off. Is it crazy, or is it just the volume is surprising and impressive? Like, is it crazy as in wrong?
It's crazy as in there's so much risk, and people are willing to do it, and it's amazing because it's trial by just putting your money where your mouth is, and we're talking about hundreds of millions here, right? Yes. I mean, today Big Data Protocol had a problem with their code. You couldn't unstake, and there was 3 billion there, right? So I mean, it's pretty crazy. And so even ourselves, we're power users, and who knows what's going to come out. We're going to embrace the chaos. I mean, I'm sure you guys know everyone's looking at lots of deals right now. It's like you're on one call, it comes in here, comes out the other side. There's no way anyone can keep track of all the developments that are going on, but it's just exciting. And I feel like we need to embrace, on our side at GBV, we need to embrace the chaos and the change, and keep an eye out for what's interesting and what can really scale. So that's what we've been focused on.
Interesting. Vineet. Yeah, I'm like ambushing everyone. Anyone looking down gets ambushed, just so you know.
Okay, so for me, I think there are 2-3 sectors in DeFi which will really go crazy. So one, definitely Ben talked about real world assets, tokenization of them. Till today, I think me getting a loan to get a house still doesn't exist. But there are players in Dubai, for example, in Dubai who are, working towards it. Real estate companies are going in. So I think, the real world use case where mass adoption can come through will be a really big thing. The second interesting thing is the money transfer aspect of it. So, still, we don't have a still P2P money transfer sort of a product. And I was talking to one of these companies based out of Germany, which is basically using different people's bank accounts. So basically they're settling a BTC transaction in Germany through a bank account in Germany, and then transferring the BTC to, say, France, and then using the transfer account to settle the transaction there. So they're basically using a P2P network to do cross-border payments. So I think these two are some things that will really be interesting in the coming month. So I would say those are things I'm really very bullish about.
Got it. And then Bijan.
Sorry?
Bijan.
Bijan.
So the question is, what's knocking your socks off in terms of?
I mean, to be honest, one of the challenges that I'm facing currently in the operations that we have is insurance. Basically, if insurance comes to the world of DeFi, we have covered lending and borrowing. If we can be, if a protocol essentially covers insurance, that would be knock my socks off. Basically, that is very.
Okay, yeah, insurance is it's a bear, and at least in the U.S., it's highly regulated on a state level, not necessarily a federal level, which I think is one of the things that annoys Kyle.
I mean, I agree with everybody what they say, but we have to always notice what Saeed said. I do a small touch base on that. I didn't want to interrupt. If we need to get massive adoption, we need the institution money to come into the play. And so the regulation somehow needs to catch up with this. Once a listed entity wants to look at investing in a project, the regulator essentially will look at it. So when this is going to happen, 3-4 years. 3-4 years ago, you would tell a banker about Bitcoin, they would laugh at you. Now they accepted Bitcoin. Now you talk about DeFi, they laugh at you. 3-4 years down on the line, they understand. But by then, we are so much ahead that they cannot deny it. They just need to accept it and somehow work with it.
Will the concept of an institution still be around?
Institution, when you want to raise money from public, essentially the public is still the traditional money. If you want to, so let's say, yes, you do a tokenization and you raise money, but are you able to raise $1 billion? Are you able to raise in a short amount of time? So there are institutions that they have that sort of money, and they will come into it as they are putting Bitcoin in their balance sheet, as they are accepting a lot of stuff on Ethereum. So it will get there, but we also, as people that are in the industry, we have to be careful that it goes in a right direction, that they don't want to, they want to work with it, not they go against it, basically.
Right, got it. All right, so let me we were kind of covering the exciting, positive, upward-looking one. Let me get a little bit more dark and go to Saeed and ask you, what are the challenges or problems that DeFi and FinTech are facing now? What are the big stinking holes, and how do we solve them? Are they solvable?
Yeah, great question. I think like with any kind of emerging technology, um, we're in a trial and error kind of phase. So I think, as time goes by, these big issues that happen, like exploits and hacks and, smart contracts failing, etc., they'll all be ironed out. And over the space of time, these little things will be ironed out, and these issues will start to go away, and they'll be a thing of the past. So, I think examples of it happening over the last year are there for everybody to see. And because there's a lot of money involved, there's going to be a precedent to actually prevent these issues from happening in the first place. And just like there's hackers out there who manipulate code and try to hack a smart contract, there's also engineers who work on building smart contracts, and engineers who work for projects that will want them to be safe and stable and not be as hackable as they have been. So it's still evolving. There's still a lot of development that needs to happen in blockchain technology in general, not just in DeFi. And I think people tend to forget that blockchain is only, what is it, 13 years old now, or 12 years old, and
it's a teenager. Blockchain is a teenager.
People
no wonder
have,
it's difficult.
People have super high expectations of it, but you have to give it a chance to actually grow up and evolve and mature and become better over time. So I think those are the challenges with specifically with the tech itself. But with all the innovation that's coming into the space, and with all the bright minds that are working on the tech. I think the acceleration of the solving of these issues is definitely very very on a very upwards level. And I think we just have to accept that there will be issues, but I don't think it's dark. I think the future is bright. And especially with DeFi, I think it's very very early, because going back to the conversation about what is DeFi, for me what DeFi is anything that disrupts CeFi. So any kind of bank or any kind of process that's involved with a bank or an institution or a finance house, if that's disrupted, that's automatically DeFi. So the sky is the limit for DeFi, right? I mean, if you look at the CeFi market, it's in the trillions, right? Or tens of trillions, of hundreds of trillions. So if DeFi can start capturing that value and disrupting that industry, then like we're still very very early stage, and there's still plenty of room for growth. I mean, with crypto, I mean, yes, look, crypto markets like about, what is it, $1.5 trillion now. So I think it's definitely evolved very quickly, and it still has a lot of room to grow. But if you're talking about just DeFi, then there's still plenty of potential there, and there's still going to be a lot of upside. And that's why you're seeing all these people that are jumping into DeFi projects. They don't care about the risk because they know that the rewards are potentially high. But as long as you have the right risk management, and you kind of don't go all in these kind of projects, and just keep a lot of dry powder on the side, then and you're calculating your risk, then you're gonna win more than you're gonna lose. So just being smart about what you're putting money into is also definitely very important, I think.
Yeah, you're right, and being measured and thoughtful about it. And but there's something to be said for just going for it. Also, someone was going to say something.
Yeah. So sorry for jumping in. Because talking on Syed's point, this thing about hacking and smart contracts being things going wrong like that. This was something happening with paid as well. But again, when you look at, there was a $2 billion hack on the Bank of Bangladesh with the SWIFT network. So hacks are not, there are credit card frauds. There are traditional banking also had issues with them, and they've been there for years. So we are still developing. These hacks actually are building up the whole ecosystem, because we'll become better, and in 10 years time this will be a much more stable thing. So when people take it out of proportion and say that something got hacked, a smart contract, and $2 million were taken, but then we should look at traditional finance as well. Computers have been hacked. SWIFT network has also been hacked. So it's not a thing. It's actually helping us evolve much better. And there are people like I did see, I was talking to Dan when paid was happening. Those guys were really working 24/7 to get things back online. So it shouldn't be taken out that much in proportion. It's going to evolve eventually.
Fair enough. So Leslie, let me come to you. In terms of the scary monsters in the unknown seas, what do you see for DeFi and fintech?
I think people need to code in a different way in smart contracts compared to normal tech. Normal tech, a good engineer just hammers away and fixes a lot of code and fixes things very quickly. A smart contract coder needs to think about the whole thing before writing it down, because they're exploitable in many ways. And so I think people need to think a different way. I think it's still very early. There's a lot of people that are still learning the code and learning how everything works. So I mean, I expect a lot. There's going to be more hacks going on, especially with the amount of money that's being flung around. But I think eventually people will come to best practices, and people will start building composable Legos on top of each other rather than try to get too cute. I think what happens is people
I was actually going to ask that question before. Is there an evolving set of, say, primitives that are getting proven out and are sort of becoming plug and play, or are we not there yet?
We are slowly, right? So people use Curve, right? And then people use Compound, people use Aave. They're building on top of that. But there's a lot of other mechanisms that are not done yet. And that is a concern, And when people say they're audited, I actually don't care too much about that, because what did they audit, right? They audit the code that you submitted last week, and then someone comes with a new function, you put it in. The day you put it in, it's like Pickle. They got audited. The day they got audited, they put a new function, then they got hacked from the new function. So, I mean, it's going to be a slow but painful process of learning. I think we're right in the middle of an era where there's going to be quite a lot of hacks. But I think this will fix itself in the by the end of the year.
So I just got into a big debate on a project I'm involved in when it comes to code reviews versus audits. And I had floated out there that the audits that people used to do are kind of quaint because no one has any time for that anymore. And the quality of the audit seems to be dropping. And maybe the right thing to do is to do a continuous code review that is potentially even cheaper. Do you have any? I see Kyle nodding sagely. Actually, Leslie, give me your initial response.
I'll give a quick answer. I think audits are like accounting. You know, they just check things, but smart contracts are like a massive exploitation attack on all sides. It's not just about a code being wrong; it's about your logic being wrong. And so there's a lot of complexity here, which I don't think auditing firms can do. And if they can do that, they'd be much more aggressive doing other things. Yeah.
Right, and it's like, you know, that's like a normal thing, right? If your broker is so good, why is he a broker? So, Kyle, I felt you were grinning, maybe ironically or sarcastically or something when I was making that audit versus code review distinction. Do you have any thoughts on
that? Well, I think lessons that we've learned is just is really like, it's not even, you know, our problem wasn't even the smart contract itself, right? It was just like poor key management and also trusting some outsourced help. But when it comes down to hacks, what I want to say is like, the ecosystem is so fast to develop and cover. Like, so now we have, you know, insurance protocols to cover DeFi hacks, you know, and so this whole industry is built on self-regulation, and we're all about like a problem solution oriented kind of mindset, you know. So like, boom, so we see a problem, someone says, I can fix that, let me build this, right? And so now we have DeFi, like DeFi, we've got problems, we've got to find solutions, and none of us sit around and whine and hope that regulators come solve problems for us, right? We're building their own solutions to our problems ourselves. You know, one of the projects that I'm incubating right now is really exciting to me, and I think a lot of people that have been in crypto for some time are going to find it really very, very exciting. You know, it's called Shield Finance, and it's all about major price corrections. You know, so people that were involved before the 2018 crash have PTSD, you know, for sure. And so if you're invested in something and the price corrects, you know, more than 50%, you can now get insurance on that, you know. And so whether that's a hack, an exploit, or just a major market correction, we're building decentralized decentralized insurance for something like that, you know. So what I love about this industry is that none of us, nobody who's truly in crypto, like, is asking regulators for anything, right? We're out there just saying, I can fix that problem. Let me build it.
No, the ethic of this industry is fantastic, or the ethos rather, is what I meant to say. The ethos of this movement. I mean, there's obviously money and opportunity there, which is great, but there's lots of ways to make money. There's a famous line from some movie which is, you know, it's easy to make a lot of money if all you want to do is make a lot of money. Someone hopefully knows what movie that is. Anyone? Okay, I'll Google it later.
No
Anyways,
I'll Google. You watch too many movies, Gordon.
Yeah, man.
I wish.
No one's got time for movies. It's a full market, man.
Look, I've been around on this planet for like half a century, so we're talking. I watched movies during the '80s. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay.
Now I feel defensive. Now I need to cover. Bijan, do we get to you? Like, what do you see as, or if I missed it, the immediate challenges?
To be honest with you, to scary stuff, I think most of us have to agree that we are here because the hype is in the market. So for the people who are in this 7-8 years, we have seen ups and downs. So too many project fails as well. Will, you know, the FOMO that people we have and jump into the project. If a lot of these projects burn, then the normal people will change their opinion, you know, very fast. And the whole hype, it will be away, and we will see something like happened in 2017 with ICOs. So this is the only skating. I think the space is doing amazing. Every day, new stuff comes up, even some things that you don't imagine. But as Leslie said, people come up with the stuff. Maybe their logic is wrong, and not everything can be done in DeFi. But that's the only skating for me, and that's it.
Makes sense. Actually, let me throw this at Enzo. Enzo, like you mentioned, you have an exchange background. I mean, obviously, one of the big things right now is DEXs. What do you see?
You know what? I kind of agree with. I love the fact that everyone, you know, even in the paid network hack, right? The community, the company, you know, it's funny what companies do when they're regulated versus not regulated. You guys almost do what everybody expects a good person to do in a way, right? A common sense approach, trying to solve the problem. When you look at the regulated side, how many times have companies been fined, small fines for doing massive money laundering? Or, you know, I mean, just think about this for a second. We have really good crowd control almost in a way. And yeah, I know there's a bunch of scams, and I was there in 2017 and watching all this nonsense. And a lot of, I knew there were scams when a guy who I knew from the microcap market showed up at a conference. I was like, oh no, sell everything. So as soon as they showed up, and this guy's known to be a nefarious player, you know, and I think he's even a bad actor. I mean, it was insane when I saw him there, and I was like, okay, time to get out. But what was interesting is that, like, here, take the insurance product. You know, so there's another fund, NHLA, ARC partners. They started to discover that these Nexus Mutuals and these mutual insurance companies that were DeFi are actually trading below the premium. You know, their kind of liquidity pools are fundamentally trading for less in the token economic world as the equity world for a normal insurance company carrier, you know, the underwriter. And we're like, we're totally behind this. So we wrote, we're writing a research piece on the insurance side. We've actually started buying other insurance companies because there's value there. There's fundamental values in these companies. There's fundamental values in what's going on. You just have to find it. Like the other thing I'll just leave off is we just did a research document on the synthetics of DeFi. So you want to go really crazy. See, Leslie, this is going to make your like CDO background. I mean, it's just.
Well, can you explain what you mean by that? Like,
it's a derivative of a DeFi. I mean, so I don't really truly. I read the research. It was written with we have a research group from actually Harvard that actually worked, actually with us on this. They're students, and I'm reading the report again.
If you tell me the guy who wrote it came in second in the national Chinese math competition, then we're going to be doing a lot of Big Short type stuff. Or never mind. It's another movie reference. Just keep going.
So all I'm saying is that it's very innovative space. There's going to be a lot. And then the last piece is everything that I've ever seen built by any company, including some of the biggest corporations in the world, has bugs in it. So software bugs are expected. So you just have to find ways. I like the kind of not the audit, but watching the code constantly or running the code through some type of system. But we all know that's not there. There is no silver bullet on getting rid of bugs and exploits. I mean, look at Microsoft. They're still putting patches on Microsoft. They just got hacked for Outlook. So, and they're multi.
Well, okay. So let me throw this in here. I mean, just to kind of dive into that a little bit. I mean, we're talking about a mass market consumer operating system, maybe as opposed to the software for a nuclear power plant, which aren't perfect either. But maybe there's a need to treat DeFi code as if it were critical infrastructure code. And maybe that induces a little bit of conservatism sometimes. It's a balance because we're obviously trying to remake the world, and you can't be too conservative, but maybe there's a need for certain primitives to be very, very known and tested, and with thousands of eyeballs looking at them.
You can't regulate out fraud, or you can't regulate out a nefarious person from putting in a a backdoor into code. That's not, you can't regulate that. You can.
But there is something to be said for open source where, I mean, it's hard to insert something bad into it's harder to insert something bad into open source. Go ahead.
Right. That's the crowd control, right? So the crowd of all these kind of developers, most of them, I assume, are good people. Want to do the right thing, want to build a real business. They're not all trying to steal everybody's money. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say I do, but at the end of the day, you have to look at it that this is a really interesting time. And yes, things will break. Yes, things will get hacked. And, just like Denise said, we just heard about the Outlook hack.
Yeah.
So Gordon, I guess the point is you can make it careful and amazingly robust. Like no one cares because you just did something, and like you're checking something that you made like for the last 3 months. You're like, oh, I'm good, I'm right. This other guy's just going crazy. This Chinese website is just like doing tons of innovations, and they just see like this little bunny and this like 200% yield thing, and they just go right. So no one's stopping anyone from building things carefully. The market has dictated that the guys who do the crazy stuff are getting the money. So it's a free market, right? There's no like regulation or any. I mean, there's self-regulation here, right?
Yeah, I kind of like. I have to tell
you. I like it too.
I actually libertarian, so I'm like, yeah. I mean, not everybody should be in this, right? And we're not saying, And then they also have more safer haven type CFI centralized systems that are really good for the retail. I'm not, so, but it's up to you, right? I mean, why should anyone really to dictate who's an accredited, like the accredited investor thing? Okay, fine.
Yeah, of course.
But really, there are a lot of smart people. There are a lot of dumb people with a lot of money. I'm sorry to tell you that. I mean, right? I mean, and there are a lot of smart people that don't have money yet, or they're young and they're innovative. It just doesn't totally make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
right?
Regulation is ridiculous. I mean, I was a bond trader and I couldn't buy bonds because I'm not a professional investor, because I don't have 1 million, I was a junior bond and I don't have 1 million of cash sitting around. So I can't buy bonds, but like my auntie, who I don't know, can't even open up a website or do bond math, can buy bonds just because they have more money. I mean, it's so old. Sorry to say that. It's so like aged, Yeah.
It's archaic. It's archaic. Yeah.
Archaic is the right word, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole system is completely archaic, and that's kind of what gives me hope with the whole what's being built out of DeFi right now is sky's the limit. We're testing the waters right now, and we don't know what's going to work, and what may work today may not work tomorrow, or something better will be built. And we're learning from these hacks, and hopefully out of the hacks, better systems are built out, and fast forward 5 years down the road, maybe we will have a system that is trustworthy and hack proof. But I think hacks will always kind of come in. It's just kind of the nature of the beast when you're building something like this.
Well, I don't think we'll ever be. Sorry, my video keeps on acting up. I don't think we'll ever be. Let me try to fix my video. I don't think we'll ever be. We'll never escape from hacks. I think the idea is to fail safely, to have ring fences around it to catch the daggers, and to minimize losses and respond quickly. I mean, I think there's a famous quote like "security is a process." Like you're never secure. You're always evolving, you're always adapting, and to the extent we have adaptive systems that are redundant and moderately keep up, I think that's a standard that's maybe realistic. So to me, being totally hack-free means you're stagnating.
So, Gordon, something interesting. I was having a discussion in the morning where someone said that what happens if Bitcoin is hacked and the value crashes? I think one of the things that we always miss out is the community that's there. There are people who are trying to hack into these systems, but there are communities, there are people who trust in Bitcoin and who have been devoted their life into making Bitcoin safe. So over a period of time, there will be people who will be created who will see to it that things remain secure. They are the ones who will continuously foil attempts by people to get in and crash the system, because they're looking towards the better good. They're looking at Bitcoin being a place where the Argentinians can save value. Where in Nigeria, if you look at Nigeria today, it's the second biggest place where the Bitcoins are getting traded on those P2P platforms. So again, being very great with technology is important, but having those supporters who will sit 24/7 to monitor your network and monitor the transaction. I'm pretty sure that when the paid network issue happened, Kyle would have gotten hundreds of messages from his trusted followers in less than a second. So those guys will, we have to still build up that community which keeps us safe from all the crap that goes around. So,
and no matter what, with Bitcoin, we always have Craig Wright who can jump in there and fix the code. So we're good. Yeah. That's the whole thing. All right, so we're kind of going to wrap it up. Let's do some final words, like final punchlines. Enzo, give us a punchline. Give us a takeaway message.
If you want to read the actual most recent document from us about DeFi and these kind of synthetics, you can go find it online. It's a good report. It's like 4 pages. It's really easy to understand. It'll give you a little bit of color on what's going on there. Again, I'm going to say the same thing I always say, which is the blockchain system is the most efficient transaction clearing and settlement system in the world. Mm-hmm. It's open source and anybody can build on it. It's lowered the barrier. We can get rid of T+2 trade dates, which gets rid of short selling issues and also the nonsense. And you know what? I'm long. I'm long it all. I know it's going to crack. I know it's going to break, and we're going to have problems, but I'm long it all. So
beautiful. Vinit, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Sorry about that. Punchline, takeaway concept.
So DeFi means definitely. It's DeFi. The whole full form should be definitely that is going to last there. It's not something for today, tomorrow speculation. It's something that is going to be there till a very long time. Mm-hmm. The numbers are going to rise. The adoption is going to go crazy. If you're not in, you're going to lose it. And that's what I've been saying to everyone in the local, like in Dubai, that if you don't get into cryptos right now, you're going to miss out. You really need to get in there and build your assets, build your platforms, and build your organizations around.
Well, there's a meme going around which is have fun being poor.
Yeah, and I actually say this, some people like this, that the number of Bitcoins that you have in your wallet by 2030 is the number of generations that won't have to work in your family. So
nice.
Too long shot, but yeah, still.
Who knows? Bijan. Punchline, takeaway, final message.
DeFi is the future. Either join the train or just step by it and see it pass around. So DeFi and blockchain and the whole transfers, cross-border and everything is the future. So that's it.
I like it. Leslie.
Fortune favors the brave. So if you want to make good investments in DeFi, you just got to do it yourself and you'll quickly learn what's good and what's not. Don't listen to other people, do it yourself.
Nice. Wow. I like that. Okay. Benjamin.
Yeah. I'll just go back to, we're in the infancy here. This whole DeFi movement is almost less than a year old in what we know it right now. And, kind of what the others have said is, jump in, play around with it yourself, experience these things firsthand, get used to it. It's once you dive in, it's kind of addictive. You kind of just go down the rabbit hole and this whole new world opens up. So have fun with it.
For sure. Kyle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of for the whole crypto industry in general, including DeFi, like, and kind of what Ben was just saying, like, we are very much in infancy, but a lot of people watching this might like wonder if they're too late, and the fact of the matter is like we are so small still, and what we're witnessing right now, and what I've been telling people forever, it feels like my entire life, but it's really, is that we're in the greatest transfer of wealth that we will ever see in our lifetimes, without a doubt. You have all these brand new asset classes being born, and it's going to grow exponentially. So if you just participate, it's all you have to do right now is participate, and it's going to dramatically change your life, you know. And I think that's the message I've been trying to get into people's heads, you know, since 2012 or 13. I'm screaming at people like, you just got to get involved, you know. And yeah.
Beautiful. And I can't think of anyone better to end on a high, wise note than Saeed. So Saeed, go for it.
Thanks, Gordon. You've been amazing as a moderator, and I have a lot of respect for you. And please don't take it personally when I make fun of you.
But, you know what? I take it personally, and I love you, so it's all good. And I'm gonna see you in Dubai soon, so I'm happy.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I look forward to it. Now, just two things. One is I really want to tell Kyle that, you know, him and the paid network team have done a really, really amazing job at recovering from what's happened to them. And I would have hated to have been in their shoes, and a lot of respect for them. And they're an example of what, you know, other projects should do. You know, like a lot of people are kind of telling me, hey, you know, it's over for paid. They're never going to come back from this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure that they will actually come back stronger, mainly just because of the team. So I think I invest in teams, and that's what's important. If you have the right people behind something, then it's always gonna, you know, it's always gonna do well, and no matter what's thrown at it. So you know, hats off to Kyle and the team. And one other thing I would say is probably like, I'd love to see a lot more layer one blockchain solutions that actually, you know, kind of drive adoption of blockchain and help, you know, innovation in the future. And I'm super happy with Casper Labs and being involved with them in the MENA region. And I would love to see much more innovation in layer one blockchain solutions as well.
Very good. All right, I want to thank our wonderful panelists. This was very interesting. You're all fascinating, and it was a good, diverse conversation. So God bless you. Have a good weekend, and we're signing off. And everyone, talk soon. Bye, y'all.
See everyone in Dubai soon.